Total Screen proudly presents their official podcast, On Screen, with your hosts, Tyson Gifford and William Roerig. Hello, everybody, and welcome to On Screen, the official podcast of the Total Screen. My name is Tyson.
My name is Will.
And today we are going to be talking about the first 3 episodes of Marvel's Secret Invasion. We also have some trailers to go over in our news segment and some stuff to look forward to on the horizon. And that's where we are going to start with our On the Horizon segment.
On the horizon. On the horizon.
This week on the Horizon, we're going to be covering what's coming up in the next week or so, starting with Miracle Workers End Times. Now, I announced this before as coming way back in January. Apparently, unbeknownst to me, it was rescheduled from January. It never ended up coming out when they said it was going to. And it's now going to be coming out on Monday, July 10th on TBS. Was waiting for that to hit a streaming service. I'm like, why isn't this out on streaming yet? I guess it just never came out in general. And now it's finally coming out. Also worth noting, this is the last TBS original. The last surviving TBS original.
Oh, really? Damn, that's a shame.
Yeah.
Rip to an era.
Then, on Wednesday, July 12th, the Afterparty is returning for its second season on Apple TV+. Like with all the other Apple TV Plus stuff, I don't have Apple TV+, I haven't seen it, but this is another one of the ones that had a lot of success for Apple TV. Also on Wednesday, July 12th, Oxenfree 2 Lost Signals is coming out on PS4, PS5, PC, iOS, and Switch. This is, I believe, the first game from the developer since they were bought out by Netflix.
Oh, okay, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, it is.
And then Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1 is coming out on Wednesday, July 12th as well, but to theaters. Then on Thursday, July 13th, Project Greenlight is returning on Max after like years of being gone. Do you remember Project Greenlight at all?
I remember that. It was like the Ben Affleck thing. Where
Yeah. It was like a reality show where they were like doing a thing to pick a filmmaker and then chronicling the efforts of that filmmaker to make a movie.
Yes.
So they you won the contest, you got the budget to make the movie, and then they chronicled you making the movie, basically. Well, that is coming out on Thursday, July 13th on HBO Max, and also Gray Matter, which is the movie from Project Greenlight, is also coming out on Thursday, July 13th on HBO Max.
Oh, interesting.
So they're putting that so you could watch the making of the movie as a TV series and then watch the movie on the same day. Full Circle is also coming out on HBO Max on Thursday, July 13th. It's Steven Soderbergh's new limited series, big cast involved in that, including Timothy Olyphant.
Yeah.
Then also on Thursday, July 13th, What We Do in the Shadows returns on FX. And lastly, Foundation is returning to Apple TV Plus on Friday, July 14th. That is what is coming up on the horizon. Now let's move on to On Beat. On Beat. On Beat is our news segment, and today we're going to go over some trailers that were released in the last 2 weeks because we had our 100th episode last week, so we didn't get to cover other stuff. So some of the stuff has come out like 2 weeks ago. But first up, we have Drive Away Dolls. We got a trailer for that. It looks good. It's being co-written by one of the Coen brothers.
Yeah.
And it just kind of looks really stylish, interesting, good cast.
Well, it looks
Pedro
fun.
Pascal looks like he has a very small role in it.
Yeah.
Matt Damon is in it, probably also in a very small role. But the main stuff, the main crux of the story seems to look pretty interesting and fun. It's got kind of a little bit of a Pulp Fiction vibe with like the briefcase and you don't know what's in it. There's some big product in it, but we don't really know what it is and people are looking for it. Kind of reminds me of the whole like briefcase and Pulp Fiction thing. But yeah, I mean, it just looks like a kind of a fun, interesting caper of a movie. Next up, we had a trailer for Suicide Squad Isekai. So
that is like the most out of left field thing I had ever heard. I saw Discussing Film post it, when the announcement came, and I had to like double check to make sure like what was it like one of those parody Twitter accounts that like try to mimic that account. I was like, what?
So a Suicide Squad anime in general would have been a little bit weird, but kind of like, yeah, I could see that happening,
Yeah.
you know? Because Warner Brothers does have like an anime studio in Japan, so it's like, yeah, you could see them kind of doing something like that. It's not that big of a deal. I think they did something with Batman a while ago too, where they did like a Batman anime. But it's like, so you could see them doing it, but then doing it as an isekai. So for those who don't know, isekai is a genre of anime. It's a very, very popular and kind of sadly cliche-riddled genre of anime that's happening. We're getting like 4 or 5 new isekai every anime season. And that's, by season, I mean like 4 times a year, not like every year. So we're getting like, close to 20 isekais a year in the anime world. And the genre of isekai is defined, it basically means that you're either transferred to or resurrected in another world. So it's like, oh, there's a character and he's at high school and then he gets magically transported to a fantasy world with like magic and stuff that has very gamified systems like a JRPG would have or something. And they're way overpowered and they go through, these are like the kind of the cliche stalwarts of the isekai genre. To have that connected with Suicide Squad is pretty crazy. And the trailer doesn't really, it's interesting because like at the beginning, it's just kind of imagery of Harley Quinn and the Joker and all this kind of stuff. Doesn't look isekai at all. And then all of a sudden you're seeing like orcs and these fantasy elements. It's like, what? Wait, what? What's going on here? And it doesn't even really seem to show in the trailer. It looks like you're seeing 2 completely different things. Like there really isn't much connection being made between the 2, but it's a single project. So as it approaches and we actually get kind of see more of this, it's going to be interesting to see what this actually is, because it's just a crazy concept to merge Suicide Squad with isekai, or just any kind of Western property with like an isekai is just kind of interesting.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Very weird, very funny. Speaking of anime, we got a new trailer for Pluto. This is the adaptation of the graphic novel of the same name from the creator of Monster, which itself was a kind of re-adaptation of the classic anime Astro Boy. And yeah, now we're getting it, and we're getting it on Netflix. It looks good. I don't know if this is like a movie or a series, but it looks good. Looks like Netflix has got a strong anime on their hands.
It looks fantastic.
Yeah,
Right.
if you haven't seen Monster, like 20th Century Boys, this is what the guy who made Pluto has done in the past. They're some of the best, manga / anime, whatever around. Like, I don't think 20th Century Boy had like a live action adaptation, I think, but Monster had an anime that was exceedingly popular. That, yeah, it's a really good mangaka to be doing something like this, to breathe new life into the idea of like Astro Boy and make it like much darker, much more like sci-fi driven than, Astro Boy's always been sci-fi, but like much more into like the conceits of like the kind of Blade Runner type, what is a human? What is a robot? Can you tell the difference between them? Like, what is consciousness? Like those kind of things applied to Astro Boy, which was much more lighthearted, is like a really interesting direction. And the guy that's doing it, that did the manga that this is based on, he's like the right person for that kind of job. So
yeah,
I think it looks very good. It'll be fun to see when that comes out. We got another animated property. Futurama is returning on Hulu. We got a new trailer for it. Looks great. Hopefully this isn't like Disenchanted or Disenchantment. Which one is it? Disenchantment, I think, was the Matt Groening Netflix series where it looked like it had all the right elements and then it just wasn't very good.
It just didn't gel into, I don't know. But yeah, Futurama is back. It looks like it hasn't missed the beat in all this time. Looks like it's going to be a grand old time in the future.
Yeah. It looks like they're covering a few kind of modern issues. There seemed to be some gag about cryptocurrency, something about like personal assistants like Alexa, and there's something else in there. I forgot what it was. But it seems to be playing onto some kind of modern ideas. Probably going to be some more AI stuff in there too. And all of that makes sense within the world of Futurama, so it'll be kind of fun to see what they do with that. And just kind of what they do in general, because Futurama is good when it parodies stuff, but it's also just good in general.
Yeah.
Speaking of animated comedies, Metalocalypse, Army of the Doomstar, somehow survived David Zaslav.
Yes, yeah, right.
I thought this thing was dead.
It's actually happening.
And it looks good. How did it survive David Zaslav? Nobody knows.
Nobody knows. Yeah, it's going to be great.
Yeah, so excited for that. I'm a huge fan of Metalocalypse. I'm a big metalhead in general, so like a really good animated comedy that's kind of based strongly within kind of the world of like metal is awesome for me. So I'm happy to see it back because I love the series. And lastly, we got a new trailer for Dune Part 2. So, yeah, this is the second trailer for Dune Part 2. And all I can say is, after watching this trailer, I'm walking on sunshine.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. All right. All right.
The big reveal we got in this trailer that I'm joking about, of course, is Christopher Walken, our first shot of him, where we get to see his character. He's playing, I think, the emperor of that whole galactic civilization that Dune is about. So he's kind of like the most powerful man in the universe, basically. It looks great. Dune was great. It'll be exciting to see Dune Part 2. There's lots of interesting stuff they showed. They had a lot of stuff with Gurney, who is the character played by Thanos. The actor's name escapes me at the second. That's why I'm saying Thanos. But seeing him return and interact again with the main character is cool. And then, like I said, we got to see Christopher Walken's character. So, yeah. Will and I were just talking about this before we did the podcast, that neither of us had read the book that Dune is based on, the Dune book. But, yeah, it looks good. I'm gonna have to rewatch the first movie to kind of get my mind in the right space again before this comes out. But I'm excited for it.
Yep, same.
And that is it for our Hour on Beat section, and that leaves only our main section for this podcast tonight. Full spoilers. Today we are going to be talking about the first 3 episodes, the first half of Marvel's Secret Invasion, starring Samuel L. Jackson and written by Kyle Bradstreet, who was a writer and producer on Mr. Robot. All 3 of these episodes, I believe, were directed by Ali Salim, who did work on Criminal Minds. So the 3 episodes we're talking about are episode 1, Resurrection, episode 2, Promises, and episode 3, Betrayed. So what do you think about Secret Invasion?
You first.
I'm kind of mixed. I think the trailer really had me hyped up for something that was very much going to feel like Winter Soldier, which is still my favorite MCU movie.
Oh, yeah.
And that's what it really gave vibes of. I'm like, oh, this is going to be like a Winter Soldier series. I love this. This is really cool. I don't think it lives up to that yet. I think there's some interesting stuff going on. I think the villain is fairly interesting, mostly because they're still keeping him kind of mysterious, like his motivations and kind of how far he's willing to go is still kind of vague. And I think that suits him. And so it makes him interesting. I think the cast is great. I think Olivia Colman in particular is really killing it as the MI6 operative.
Oh, yeah. 100%.
She's terrifying in the second episode, you know?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And has kind of like a fun interactions with Nick Fury. All of that being said, with everything good there, there's just like a quality to it that doesn't quite feel like it's living up to what I imagined.
Yeah, like, I feel the same way. I'm also mixed. Everything you mentioned is good. There's stuff happening that I like, and then there's other times where, like, I feel completely...
A little hollow?
Yes. I feel that's exactly it. I just feel, like, disconnected from what's happening, and I just find myself, like, not caring. Mm-hmm. And also, like, a lot of the interactions, conversations don't feel satisfying in a way. Like, the dialogue feels, like, kind of clunky, and just the way Nick Fury, like, he's arguing with Talos, but it doesn't come off as, like, this buddy comedy thing. It comes off as, like, why are these people not trying to kill each other? I don't know.
Yeah.
They're so mean to each other. I don't get it.
Well, and they're also, I think Samuel L. Jackson is absolutely magnetic.
Yes, he is.
And every scene he's in, he's magnetic and he's fascinating and he's great to watch and stuff. At the same time, it's like they really demystified him in this show, and to its detriment. It went from being like Nick Fury is just so fucking good at what he does. He's so smart and he's so ahead of the game, to being like, how was this guy ahead of the game? Like, what the hell? Was his only advantage his reliance on the scrolls? Was that the only thing that made made him ahead of the game this whole time? Is that what they're trying to say? That he was just some kind of nothing? Then because he had access to scrolls, like, that's the only thing that made him such an important figure?
Yeah, like...
Because that seems to be what they're trying to say.
Yeah, which is really a huge freaking retcon of his character. Like Talos says, oh yeah, no, you're smart and capable, but, and I'm, yeah, I don't know about that. And it's also like, man, I get this is kind of like a weary Nick Fury, but man, he's so tired in every scene. Also, it's like shit's happening, but it doesn't seem to be like a sense of urgency on his part, except for like the end of this episode.
Yeah.
Like, he's just like casual about everything. I don't know. It's
the
weird.
Character encounters are kind of strange too. In the second episode,
yes.
It ends with the reveal that Nick Fury has a wife and she's a Skrull.
Yes.
And it's kind of like, oh, whoa, that's interesting. And then in this episode, it's just like,
is it?
It reminds you in this episode, in the third episode, it reminds you that, yeah, Nick Fury has a secret wife, but we should have thought the moment we saw her, like, wait a minute, but Nick Fury's just basically been avoiding everybody up in space this whole time. So that means he's been doing that to his wife, you know? So,
yeah, which
what
is
their
like,
relationship?
comes out like in some drama here, which I don't know if like that's done for like added drama or whatever. It's so like out of left field. One of the weirdest interactions was in episode 2 where Nick Fury is talking to Rhodey. And it's such like a weirdly confrontational and intense like conversation, especially from Rhodes' end. Like, dude, what the hell's your problem? It's so weird because they should be teaming up.
Yeah, as an Avenger, you think he'd better understand
Nick
Fury's position and respect his ability and what he's saying. And it just seems like a complete disregard. It's very strange. It just feels kind of out of character.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Which makes me think, oh, he's gonna end up being a Skrull right at the end of this. That's where they're going, right?
Yeah, it seems to be. They did, I think, to a mixed reaction, they had a significant death in episode 1, at the end of episode 1. What did you think of that? Because that has gotten a lot of mixed reactions I've seen online. A lot of people are like, how dare they kill Maria Hill? But I don't really know what they had left to do with her character in general, but it does kind of feel unceremonious the way they took her out in this movie.
Yeah,
I
don't like it.
I'm not one of those people going like, Maria Hill was so important. I'm like, was she really?
She was a minor character. Like,
yeah, I don't think she was that important of a character, but the way they took her out was like, it was supposed to have way more meaning than it actually did.
The bigger surprise was them killing off Emilia Clarke's character, Gaia, at the end of the third episode. Where
the way that was done, I still kind of feel like that might be a fake out. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, because like, it has to be, right? Because it felt like they were really building her character up to be a key player in the story, and then she's just dead.
Well,
I was like,
how
what?
do you Talos' story moving forward after that? Because he already lost his wife off screen.
Yeah.
And now he's gonna lose his child. I understand maybe that's going to be like this cracking point for his character, and it's gonna change directions wildly based on that. But what is that gonna actually look like? I mean, that's super dark for him, you know? Especially the halfway point of a series, for him to be in that position now. Because he already looks like somebody who's kind of at his wit's end. And then for that to happen, he kind of has nothing at that point. Basically, most of the Skrulls have turned against him. They don't care about it. The only friend he has left is Nick Fury, who we saw like just constantly bickering to each other, and not like in a good way, not like in a fun way, but like in a we're sick of each other way.
Right?
Exactly. And now, like, if he loses his daughter too, well, what point is he going to have in any of this at that point? Like, what is his motivation going to be to do anything, you know, in favor of anything? Like, what's he going to care about the Skrulls continuing forward if his line's dead?
Yeah.
What is he going to care about Nick Fury if his whole family's gone?
I guess we're going to have to see where they're going with this, but to me, like, it feels like such a strange decision.
Yeah, I mean, we don't know yet, because it's not over.
Yeah,
so
it's like
not
I
over.
said, like, anything can happen. I
just kind of expected to see her rise up in the last scene. Before it cut to the credits, I was expecting to see her rise up. And they even had, like, a weird shot where it was, like, staying on the landscape behind her where she had fallen as the car drove off in the background. And it just held on that shot, and I'm like, oh, is she gonna, like, get up or something? It just looks like that was what they were going for. To the point that even if they aren't bringing her back, it's almost like they set it up like a red herring to make you think she was gonna get out. Because it just seemed like such that kind of shot that they ended on, and then it never happened. So it's like, okay, so what are we gonna see with this character moving forward? Is she really just dead now? Is that like that unceremonious death, she's just gone now already? It's just kind of weird.
Yeah, I have no clue what's going on with that. Hopefully it's going somewhere interesting, going somewhere good with that, but we'll have to see with the next 3 episodes.
What do you think about the Super Scroll thing?
I think it's stupid. I'm gonna be honest. I think it's stupid. I think this show has like a lot of problems where it wants to be its own thing, but it has to exist in the MCU, and that's creating like problems that they have to solve. Mm-hmm. Like when Nick Fury's talking to Rhodes is like, oh, basically, why don't you get the Avengers involved? And Nick Fury's like, oh, no, we can't, because the Skrulls will start to pretend to be them and it'll cause chaos. Yeah, but the real reason is that the budget can't support it, and the story wasn't built around that. This is just like them, like through exposition, coming up with an excuse to preemptively answer fans' questions of why Thor can't just solve this whole thing, right? And the whole Super Skrull plan, that's like another part of that, because Talos is talking about, like, oh, he's gonna cause discord, and Skrulls are gonna take over the world, and you're like, okay, but the world's full of superheroes, dude. What do you think's gonna happen? So, oh yeah, well, we're giving ourselves superpowers now, so that answers that question. It just feels like that.
Yeah, it's kind of like a disconnect from the bigger supernatural elements of the MCU that are already in play. Like, you giving yourself some superpowers, how's that gonna help you against Doctor Strange and the wizards in this fucking world? How's that gonna do anything against them? Like, how is that gonna be like a reasonable defense against the Hulk? Like, how is that going to be something that's gonna give you a strong advantage against, like, even some of the new characters, like Shang-Chi, who used those 10 rings to fucking blow up a dragon? Like, how are you gonna take out these people? It's like a certain kind of weird point there. But the other thing that I'm gonna say, which I think is really damning about this, is that just today, before I watched this episode, I was watching a reaction video on YouTube, not to this, but to somebody who was going through a bunch of Marvel movies and going through old stuff, and the movie he happened to be watching that he was reacting to was X-Men Origin Wolverine.
Oh, geez,
one of the most despised comic book adaptation or comic book movies. And the dumbest part about that whole movie was what they did with Deadpool. Not just the silencing him, which was really stupid considering what his character is, but the whole like, oh, instead of Deadpool's power set being what it is, he's just this guy and we're just gonna give him all these powers that other mutants have, that somehow we have the ability to just transplant power.
Yeah.
Like, that just works somehow. And that's what this made me think of when I was watching, because immediately after watching that reaction, I watched it, and then they started explaining what they were gonna do with the Skrull thing, and I'm like, this is X-Men Origin Wolverine.
Yeah.
This is the Deadpool, like, thing that everybody fucking hated, and they're doing it with the Skrulls now.
I kind of hate the idea that they could just unilaterally set up a lab and start giving themselves superpowers when that's not really how, like, it's worked,
Yeah, it just misses a lot of the conflicts and stuff that were set up earlier. It's kind of like when they can easily make super soldiers. Dude, look how big of a deal it was when Steve Rogers was made into Captain America. And how it was like, they were never able to properly duplicate it and everything, and now it just seems like, oh yeah, easily, we can just give anybody super soldier powers.
Yeah,
there's no problem at all, and it's painless now, and
there is a Super Skrull in the comics. Like, he has, like, all the powers of the Fantastic Four, but he got his powers the same way the Fantastic Four did, by getting hit with the same cosmic radiation. It wasn't like a planned thing that he was gonna do.
Oh, we're just gonna randomly take DNA and that's just gonna work.
Yes.
We're just gonna implement it into already living beings. We're not even creating a super baby that we have to raise for 18 years or something. No, we're just gonna straight up implant the DNA into people and they're gonna magically gain all these abilities.
It's so stupid. Like, when he revealed that, like, as his master plan, come on.
Yeah.
Like, as far as things go, to that point, this had been fairly grounded, and now I feel like we're getting to a finale where we're just going to get, like, these Skrull agents using these ridiculous powers, and, like, Nick Fury having to deal with it without the help of any real superhero except for maybe War Machine. I don't know, man. What worries me the most is we only have 3 episodes to figure this out.
Yeah. This series, like, we've been ragging on it for a lot right now, but as we started the discussion saying, there's a lot of things that are good about it too.
Yeah.
It's just like, it'll be like something really good and then why are they doing this now? Like,
yeah, why are they doing it? Like, it's uneven.
Yeah, very much so. I mean, I think Samuel Jackson continues to be great as Nick Fury. He's magnetic on screen, as I said. I think we need to see more of Olivia Colman's character of Sonia Failsworth, the MI6 operative. We need to see more of her because she's fantastic.
Yes.
I don't know what's going on with Rhodey. That's just very, like we talked about.
Yeah,
just seems very out of character.
Just seems very out of character, and I really feel like they got one more, this is a character but it's really a Skrull, like they did at the beginning of the first episode with
Everett Ross.
Yeah, Everett Ross, who is apparently and again, that raises questions of continuity.
Yeah, Wakanda Forever, how that ended.
Yeah, was it Everett Ross in Wakanda Forever? How long has he been kidnapped by the Skrulls and being impersonated?
Because isn't he just living in Wakanda now too? Because wasn't he?
That's what I thought.
Wasn't he, like, the way Wakanda Forever ended, it's like he was burned. His career as a spy was, like, burned.
Yeah,
and
wasn't
now
he,
he's
on
like,
the run?
Just with the Wakandans now, you know?
Yeah.
And so, like, why would he be associated with S.H.I.E.L.D. and talking about Nick Fury, like, if he's now associated with the Wakandans? That doesn't make sense.
Yeah, where does this take place in continuity? Yeah, exactly. It's kind of divorced from recently established continuity, which is weird. I get these things all have different production schedules, but man, they gotta do a better job of figuring this stuff out, the improv, if they want this to be a universe.
Yeah. And perhaps this is, we saw like that there's a slowdown happening with the MCU now where they reduce the amount of productions that are coming out per year drastically from what was happening just like a couple of years ago. Maybe this is one of those last vestiges where we're seeing, like, okay, this is the problem. This is why they had to do this.
Right, yeah.
Is that they were like losing control over continuity by making too many things at once. And maybe that's kind of what we're seeing here is it's not like a bad omen for Marvel so much as it is, oh yeah, now we realize what the problem is, but there's still some stuff that was made in the meantime and we have to like see it and all of those things before it gets addressed.
Yeah, exactly.
And maybe that's what we're going through right now in this moment with Secret Invasion, but I don't know, man. There's so much about this I like, and there's so much about this that I just kind of go, wait, what? Why are they doing that? Why are they doing it this way? What's going on with that? What's happening with Nick's Skrull wife, who just seems to be running away and looking for the main villain, Gravik, right now?
Yeah, like what's she up to? I guess that's another point of intrigue that they're building on.
The thing is, we just got introduced to her.
Yes,
so we're
that's
introduced to her, we find out Nick has a secret Skrull wife. It's like, oh, that's interesting. What are they going to do with that? And then immediately they're pulling off the intrigue of like, is she trustworthy or not? Without ever giving it time for that to be something heartbreaking or crazy for us.
Oh yeah, it's like
two
minutes after
we don't know yet.
2 minutes after we find out she exists, they're like, oh, is she a spy? Is she going to betray Nick? This woman needed to be introduced 5 movies ago for us to care about that.
Or at the very least, maybe
come on.
Introduced in the first episode, and then maybe this like possible betrayal, what's going on, happening like in the last episode or the second to last episode. But like literally, we introduced her in a scene, and the next scene we see her in, it's like, like what's going, the very next scene that she's in. It's questioning that. We're not given any time to build up any kind of relationship with her or to have any feelings about her before they do this already. And that's kind of, I don't know. It's a rush. They're rushing to something and they're kind of ignoring stuff along the way.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I mean, I feel like I have to keep bringing this up. There's still stuff that's really good in this.
No, yeah, like I said, it's uneven. It's not horrible. I don't hate it. I'm enjoying it still, but it's like, there's a lot of problems. It's not the best thing I've ever seen, you know? Like,
yeah. I don't like we've been talking about like the villain, Gravik, like I don't like his plan. I don't like the way certain things are going with him. But I think the character is interesting. I think the way he acts is interesting. I think his relationship to Nick Fury is interesting. I think all of that's interesting. But his plan just seems reckless and not really thought out and nonsensical and destined to fail. And it just, and the motivations, like, I don't get the whole idea that the Skrulls want to kill all the humans. They have like a huge advantage over the humans.
Yeah.
And the fact that they can blend in with them. Like, why do they care about killing humans? Wouldn't that just make them a target to, like, the Kree, who are basically the only reason the Kree aren't at Earth going to direct war with Earth right now is because of all the other shit going on Earth.
You know what they didn't do? They didn't properly explain why Gravik hates humans. As far as we know, humans haven't done anything to him. I get the Skrulls are looking for a world. He thinks Earth is a world, but he's like shit-talking humans. Like, killed his mother or something. Like, the Kree did that.
Yeah.
They showed, like, a scene, back in the 90s with Nick Fury, and they introduced Gravik as a boy, and they said he was made orphaned by the Kree. Okay, all that anger and rage seems to be directed at humans now for some reason. He hasn't even mentioned the Kree once. It's weird. I don't know. He's saying he has this idea, like he's trying to justify to himself what he has to do, only like he doesn't seem like he needs that justification because he doesn't seem to really care about killing people.
Well, that's the thing.
It's like that. It's like that hatred has to come from somewhere, right?
Yeah, there's like two issues. One is that they're not properly addressing why they hate the humans, why they're going after, as you said. And the other thing is the only reason that they're safe from the Kree on Earth is because of all the other shit that's going on in the MCU. The Kree don't want to attack Earth because of look what's happening on Earth. Why would the Kree want to go to war with Earth when the fucking Earth took out Thanos? The forces of Earth took out Thanos. The forces of Earth are insane, like, nobody wants to fuck with that shit. That's why they're not a direct target of the Kree right now. If they took out all the humans, what are they gonna do? And it also ignores there's other people besides humans on Earth right now. The Asgardians are on Earth right now, Earth is home to Asgard.
Yeah,
right
exactly.
Now. Are they planning to try to take out the Asgardians too?
I think the writers of this completely forgot about the Asgardians on Earth. I'm going to be honest. That's not considered in this plot.
Yeah. Are they going to take out the Asgardians? Do you think the Asgardians are going to be like, oh yeah, you took out all the humans, but we're just cool with you?
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly.
And I get that they maybe have a negative impression of humans, maybe because they were put to work by Nick Fury, and maybe they feel jilted by that and everything. But Earth is also host to them. Yeah, they didn't find you.
Well,
I mean, they're
right.
playing host to you.
It's one thing to like be upset that Nick Fury didn't like make all their dreams come true or whatever, and then it's another thing to like be so homicidal. Oh, it doesn't matter if all the humans die. Again, that's hatred. That has to come from somewhere, and that doesn't come from just like Nick Fury not fulfilling a promise. That's a stretch.
Yeah.
Like, and they haven't justified that aspect of Gravik's character. They haven't like done anything to properly
or the other
explain
Skrulls.
that.
Like, why are the other Skrulls all following Gravik?
Yeah, why are they Yeah, again, they say, oh, it's because Talos is seen as weak. The justification is they want a world to live in. I guess they think Gravik is the best suited or best positioned to actually deliver them a world, which is Earth, and that's why they're going along with it mainly. That's the best I come up with.
Yeah. But hey, I like the scene between Gravik and Talos. And
that was like the best scene in the entire series so far, to be honest.
Yeah.
That was like really tense and really good.
It was good to see Talos get aggressive.
Yeah.
He like stabbed his hand. But yeah, I don't know, man. Secret Invasion. I'm gonna stick with it, of course.
Yeah, I'm gonna stick with it. We'll be talking about the next 3 episodes after they air.
Yeah, we're not going to cover this week to week going forward. We'll talk about the next 3 episodes after all 3 of the next 3 episodes have aired. So we'll do other things for the next couple episodes. And that brings us to an end of the podcast so I can talk about what we're going to be doing next week. Next week, we're going to be talking about Evil Dead Rise, which is available on HBO Max for anybody who's interested. It is currently available now. I talked about it briefly before on a podcast, but I was trying to be kind of spoiler free, so I only brought up a few kind of issues and things that I liked about it, things I didn't like, without really getting specific or talking about events in the story. But next week, we're going to be talking about that in our full spoiler segment, so we're going to be able to talk about all that stuff. So look forward to that next week. Until then, you can follow me on Twitter. I'm at Tyson Gifford. You can follow Will. He is at Voxel Hero. You can check out our Facebook page, our SoundCloud page, our RSS feed for this podcast. All of that is available if you go to our website, thetotalscreen.com, and you open up any of the container stories for any of these podcast episodes. episodes. Scroll through them, go to like the last paragraph of the story. We'll have all the links in it that you can click on and get to for all of those, all of our social accounts, everything like that. So check all of that out. You can subscribe to this podcast through your podcast line of choice, like Apple Podcasts or Pocket Cast, and the entire backlog of this podcast is available on our YouTube channel. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Good night.
Good night.
Thank you for listening to the OnScreen podcast, the official podcast of The Total Screen. Visit our website at thetotaliscreen.com. This podcast can be found on any major podcast client, including Pocket Cast and Apple Podcast. The entire backlog of this podcast and other content can be found on our YouTube channel.